with the facts on Sherland with the radio, and you are in the entertainment segment with Courtney and Kyle. It's time for a social media shout out. Today I'm shouting out from Instagram.
Oh man, thank you. I'm glad you caught me on that, Forrest. I'm talking. I sat down here in such a rush, I forget to turn on my microphone so you guys can hear me. All right. So y'all been seeing me, seeing my lips move, and you haven't caught all of that monologue that I gave you, and I'm not going to go all the way back through it again, but I just want to let you know what the Black Family Technology Awareness Association, the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center, two organizations that are about learning, about education, about lifting up our community, and the things that we are doing. So we came together to form this radio station, Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom. KUAW is what we call it. And as I was wanting to say is that there's a lot of different opinions, a lot of different viewpoints that you'll hear on KUAW radio, and that's good. That's what we need to have. So when you listen to the different shows that are on here, you're going to hear some things that are maybe a little more conservative, some that are a little more liberal. You're going to hear some people that are more religious oriented, some people who are more not sure that there is a God. All of that is about bringing knowledge into the community and letting us hear the different viewpoints so that we can form opinions that may be beneficial for all of us. So that's how we learn. That's how we don't listen to just one side. We have to listen to more than one side so that we can develop a truth, that we can learn what the truth of a matter may really be. We make educated decisions. So we're glad that you tuned in today. Sorry that you missed the first 4 or 5 minutes I was talking there. But excuse me. But I want to thank my listeners for texting me, coming in on it, letting me know what's going on. And that's what this is about. This is an interactive thing, and we want you to be a part of what's going on here. Now, one thing we do every week as we bring this up, or we try to do every week, most every week, is let you know what's going on in science and technology in space. You know, being a space geek and a Star Wars person, I like to learn what we're doing in there. I have a curiosity about that. So we show you every week what's happening at NASA. So this week is no different, and we're going to go right now to show you what's going on this week at NASA.
The journey of resilience to the space station, the next ocean-observing satellite, and an update on a critical rocket test series for our Artemis missions. A few of the stories to tell you about this week at NASA. On November 15th, NASA astronauts Mike Hopkins, Victor Glover, Shannon Walker, and Japan's Soichi Noguchi headed skyward from our Kennedy Space Center aboard the SpaceX Resilience Crew Dragon spacecraft.
Not even gravity contains humanity when we explore as one for all.
The successful launch kicked off the first crew rotation mission to the International Space Station and the first of 6 certified crew missions NASA and SpaceX will fly as part of our Commercial Crew program.
Another view from Crew Dragon, looking at its future destination, its future home for the next 6 months, the International Space Station.
The next day, Resilience and its crew closed in on the space station, successfully docking to the orbiting outpost at 11:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
This is Resilience. Excellent job, right down the center. SpaceX and NASA, congratulations. This is a new era of operational flights to the International Space Station from the Florida coast.
A while later, the Expedition 64 crew aboard the station welcomed its 4 newest members, whose arrival increases the space station's long-duration expedition crew size from 6 to 7 crew members for the first time ever. They will conduct science and maintenance during their 6-month stay, which is scheduled to be the longest human space mission launched from the United States.
And liftoff of
the Sentinel-6 Michael Freilich satellite launched November 21st from California's Vandenberg Air Force Base. It is the first of 2 identical satellites scheduled to make global sea level observations for at least the next decade as part of a U.S.-European collaboration. Sentinel-6 Michael Freilich's twin, Sentinel-6B, is scheduled to launch in 2025. Engineers at our Stennis Space Center successfully repaired a valve inside the core stage of our Space Launch System rocket and are now preparing for a wet dress rehearsal the week of December 7th. The wet dress is part of the rocket's Green Run test series in preparation for launches of Artemis missions to the moon. A hot fire test, where all 4 of the rocket's engines will be fired to simulate a launch, is currently targeted to wrap up the testing series the week of December 21st. On November 18th, Russian cosmonauts Sergei Ryzhikov and Sergei Kutsverchkov ventured outside the International Space Station to prepare for the arrival of a new Russian research module. The new module, named Nauka, Russian for science, is being prepared for launch at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. NASA researchers using computer models to create a COVID-free 2020 scenario for comparison found that since February, fewer amounts of some pollutants have been found in Earth's atmosphere than usual. The exercise attempted to examine how much of this was a result of changes in human activity due to pandemic-related restrictions. The diminished pollutants include a nearly 20% reduction in nitrogen dioxide, which is primarily produced by the burning of fossil fuels used by industry and transportation. That's what's up this week at NASA. For more on these and other stories, follow us on the web at nasa.gov/twan.
That's what's going on at NASA this week. Yeah, I was getting a lot of information. I tell you, been really busy around here trying to put things together, but hopefully things are looking good. Oh, one thing you might have missed when you couldn't hear me talking at the beginning of the show is we're going out on another platform now. For those of you that have young people in the house or gamers, or if you're a gamer yourself, we just started the KUAW Twitch channel. So we're on Twitch TV. So a lot of the kids use that when they're playing games, but it also has a Twitch TV channel. So KUAW Radio is now broadcasting on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitter. So those are the 5 platforms that we have right now. Look for more to come. We're going to be going out on as many different channels as can. And if you pick this up, be sure and let us know how you're listening to it. If you listen to us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope, or Twitch, or if you're on the TuneIn, if you're listening to the audio side of us only and you don't see the pictures, that's okay. You know, check us out on the audio side. If you go through the TuneIn app, you can pick us up. Just search for KUAW and you can play us while you're in your car. If you've got a Bluetooth-enabled car, turn your phone to TuneIn, hit KUAW, we come over the car speakers just like any other station. Yes, that's right. So with 5G and all this coming along, you'll be able to take us with you in your car anywhere that you go around the world. KUAW Radio, Kansas City's global community radio station, is going to be there, and it'll be there for you. All right, so let's talk about some of the things. How about those Chiefs last night? Yes, it was a nail biter, I tell you. We won. Now, I'm glad that we did beat the L.A. Raiders. Not L.A. Raiders, what is it? Las Vegas Raiders. That's what they are. They move around so much. But I'm kind of glad, since they beat us here at our house, that we were able to go and do them the same turn and beat them at their house. We've got to do a little bit better, though, on defense, because I tell you, these games that we're winning, they're shootouts, you know, man. 60, 70 points being scored is a lot of scoring. So I don't mind when the Chiefs do it, but I need our defense to kind of hold the other guys back a little bit. You know, let them not be, you know, as score hungry, because it almost seems like the last person with the ball is going to score, you know, and you just couldn't let up. I mean, it was a nail biter, even as you got down to those last 28 seconds when Las Vegas got the ball. I'm thinking, okay, all we need is a pass interference down there on the 28 on one of those bombs or something, and they'll be in scoring position, and it could happen real quick. So, you know, we won, so I guess that's the main thing on the end, but I sure wish our defense would make it a little bit harder for them to score. You know, they get the ball and march down and score. But it was a good game, and Patrick Mahomes did what Patrick Mahomes does. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and the rest of the receivers and our running backs. We did have some running that went on that was good. Le'Veon Bell, we could pick up and do a little bit more running, but our running game is, I think, better, and hopefully it'll continue to improve. But that's all we want to talk about on the sports side today. You know, because we've got a lot of things to go through, and I killed about the first 5 or 6 minutes anyway, so I hope that I'll be able to get through all of this. If you guys were with us last week, I did the interview with Mr. Harold Gill, and he's a songwriter, singer from right here in Kansas City. I went to school with him. Matter of fact, we were in ROTC together. But his whole career has been in singing. He did some other jobs, but, you know, he's always born to sing. And one of the things that he brought out, and I think we ought to make sure that all the young people know, is to learn the business of the record industry, of the music industry, of this show business thing you're going into. Because as he said, you know, he had been selling his album, and this was back in the 80s when they were making those 12-inch extended play ones and stuff, for $5. You know, glad to be able to sell some after a show down on the beach, he said, you know, anywhere he could, just like a lot of the rappers and stuff are doing. But at the time, he didn't know that his record, even though they couldn't get airplay here in the United States with a lot of the radio stations and stuff, it went overseas and it became a hit. And people were playing it because I told him, I said, man, I was doing some research on him before I called him, and I saw his songs. So I put them on YouTube, and I'm seeing all these people that are still dancing, still making new videos with young people with his song behind it. And he said, yeah, he wasn't aware of that until recently, but he's getting, you know, his royalties and stuff now. But he didn't know it was as big as it was over there. I saw one of his albums that had a signature, you know, it was a signed album. They're selling it to collectors for $250. And man, your record's selling for $250 over in Europe right now. Somebody had it on eBay or one of the sites for $250. I saw some for $190. You know, that they're a collector's item. You know, people are looking for it and stuff. They're still playing it, and it's considered, you know, one of the old hits or one of the classics over there. So, you know, that business. And he said, yeah, at first he didn't know what was going on, and people had to tell him that, you know, yeah, your record's big over there. So that's the thing, you know, in this business, is that, you know, you definitely got to stay up on all the ins and outs of it, know where your music is, have either good representation or ways that you can look at it yourself, because, I mean, they weren't hiding the name or anything, and it's getting these plays, it's making a hit. You know, who knows, he probably could still be performing over in Europe right now, you know, doing the song. But it's a good party song. It had the old funk beat, and I think I'm going to get a copy of it so that I can make sure that it gets played here. He also let us know that he has some new music out. I've got one of his CDs that he did just a few years ago. But the brother's like, you know, a lot of other artists out there and stuff. Not that he got rich or he made millions of dollars singing, but that was his calling. That's what he does. And I appreciated talking to him and seeing what was going on. We're going to be doing some more interviews, not just with singers or those type of artists, but with some other people. I've got some people that I'm calling to see about arranging some interviews on the technical side, some people that have been involved in science, that will be doing some Zoom videos. One of the good things about Zoom is it is letting us do videos with people. They don't have to come all the way to Kansas City. If they're in Kansas City, they don't necessarily have to come to the studio. And with this COVID-19, I'm getting ready to send out a letter to a lot of our show hosts that we're wanting to restrict the number of guests that come up here. We got, you know, COVID was kind of easing down, and we had 2 or 3 people up here. But I'm going to send them out a letter this week that we're not going to have more than 1 guest, 1 or 2 guests in the studio at a time, because at that table that I have, if it's 3 people, that's enough. We don't need 4 people or 5 in there. So we still have to be safe. We want to make sure that we keep everybody safe, not just stay safe ourselves, but we don't want anybody else to get sick and come up with this COVID thing that doesn't have to, just to be on the radio. So for all my hosts out there, if we can do Zoom interviews, that's one thing that we want to do. We want to bring in as much of the Zoom element as we possibly can to do this. Let's see what we've got here. We've got a few people on. I wanted to see if we had anybody on Facebook. Make sure I'm not missing something. All right. So yeah, no, we're on there. Yeah, so if you have any questions, any comments, be sure and post them. You can post them on our Facebook page. It's at KUAW -radio. That's all we have right now. We've got a new name. It's not LPFM and stuff. It's now KUAW Radio. You can pick up KUAW Radio on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Twitch. You know, we're out there, and that's why I want to hear. So I'd be glad to hear from you. You can also give me a call, 816-599-6893, 816-599-6893. That's KUAW, Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom Radio, here in Kansas City, Missouri. So I hope you're staying warm inside now. You know, winter is steadily creeping up on us, and we still have the pandemic. I was looking at one of the news articles, and it said that our KU hospital is treating 100 COVID patients now, that they're at a high number than they've ever been. So this thing is as bad as it was at the beginning of spring when we were first hearing about it, and we need to make sure that we're really being safe, really taking this thing to heart, because it's not something to play with. You know, we've got people. I've got a brother-in-law, sister-in-law that both have battled with COVID. My sister-in-law is doing much better, and my brother-in-law is recovering. But this thing is still out there, guys. So even though it's a inconvenient, it's a little what do I want to say? It's getting tiring, you know, wearing the mask, things being closed and all that. I got to be honest with you. It's getting tiring. You know, we've played this game a pretty good while, and I'm ready for the game to end. It's almost like being on one of the merry-go-rounds that gets to going faster and faster, and you're ready to get off, and you can't jump off. But I'm ready for this thing to end, and hopefully if we all do the things that they're asking us to do, we can do that. And with the vaccines that are coming up, hopefully, you know, before too long, we can get this over with. But you never know. We got Thanksgiving coming up. A lot of people are going to be getting together, even though they tell us not to get together. It's kind of hard not to. But so we know that there's going to probably be some families getting together, and we hope that it doesn't lead to any bad outbreaks among people. I saw in the news this morning where one family, I think it's 15 of them, that had met for a birthday party that have come down with COVID. And some of them were older people, and you know that it's harder on the older people. So let's think about that. Let's be careful about it, and let's make sure that we try and stay safe. Wash your hands, wear your mask, you know, keep the social distancing. Don't go out in big crowds. You know, try not to be at the big party. And I know I'm glad I'm not a 20-something, 30-something year old, because I know it's hard not to get around your friends, not to go out to dances and things like that. But it's something that we just got to do. And it's not that it's going to be easy, but we definitely got to do it. And as we talk about our health, I found another article that was really interesting. It says the American Medical Association officially recognized racism as a public health threat, saying it creates and entrenches health inequality. So racism is a public health threat, and that's from the AMA, you know, the American Medical Association. And they say racism negatively impacts and exasperates health inequities among historically marginalized community. Willard Edwards, an AMA board member, said in a statement Monday, the AMA said it would enact new policies to address the injustice and work to support research in the area. Also, racism has historically perpetuated health inequality and cut short the lives of many Black, Indigenous, and people of color in the U.S. For example, Black Americans and Hispanic Americans are dying in greater numbers than any other ethnic group from COVID-19. So, you know, some people say there is no racism or that it doesn't have any effect on yourself. Here, the American Medical Association is saying that it's a public health threat, that there is shortened lifespans and inequalities that cause shortened lifespans from it. The American Medical Association has defined racism as a public health threat that has created substantial health inequality. Racism, both systematic and structural, has historically perpetuated health inequality, cut short lives, and over the last year, the number of county and state authorities have also labeled racism as a public health threat. So it's not just that the AMA is saying it, but there's a lot of government agencies. Among them are county councils in San Bernardino, California, Montgomery, Maryland, as well as authorities in Michigan, Nevada, Cleveland, Denver, and Indianapolis. The AMA recognizes that racism negatively impacts and exacerbates health inequalities is known. Without systematic and structural level change, health inequities will continue to exist, and the overall health of the nation will suffer. So this is something that's going to affect us, and it is affecting us. Dr. Jessica Shepard, a black OBGYN in Dallas, told the Business Insider that AMA's move is critical to address racial disparities in health care from the top down. We fail to realize that there are so many things that occur at a systematic part of healthcare that if we don't make changes such as the ones we are discussing now, then we'll never really get to the heart of the problem, Shepard said. Still, there's a lot more work to be done. Meaningful impact happens when words become action. Dr. Jose Terradas, an emergency medicine physician who's worked extensively with Spanish-speaking and low-income populations, told the Insider, our asymmetric approach to public health and the distribution of resources has taken form over decades, and change won't happen overnight. So for a lot of us, that's news. For a lot of us, it's not news to say that, yeah, there's some health inequities and that they affect the health of black people. And that's something that, it's something that, maybe was talked about before, but now it's like they want to systematically look at this. They want to do studies. They want to work. And I know we say we get studied to death, but they've got to try and get a handle on it. But it says as just like COVID has disproportionately affected people of color, that's what we have to look at. And it says why racism, not biology, drives up rates of pre-existing conditions among people of color. So one thing that I know our Surgeon General wanted to come on early, and I was a little disappointed in him, but he said, well, the reason that blacks were having higher rates of COVID early on when they were talking about this was like back in April or something, but he said it's their lifestyles. If they stop drinking and smoking as much, they do the things that make their health bad. So he was blaming it on the people in the community as to why we were having this problem of more blacks, more Hispanics dying. And it's like racism didn't even play a part in that. That that's not it, it's us. And that's the thing that we have to look at. It says, that they, as it says, the people of color tend to have health conditions that make them statistically more susceptible to infectious diseases. But that's not simply genetics. It's access to care, fresh food, and exposure to dangerous environments. We have to make sure that people understand that race is not biology. Dr. Cameron Jones, an epidemiologist and physician with affiliations at Morehouse, Emory, and Harvard University, previously told the Business Insider, this false narrative of biologically based differences in the races, it has been debunked. Studies have also found that black people in the U.S. are less likely to seek medical help for ailments. That's influenced by the historically racist American health system, which, for example, allowed black men to die, go blind, experience other severe health effects from untreated syphilis as part of the Tuskegee experiment. Everybody, has heard about that over and over again. Also, the reluctance to seek medical care is also influenced by the fact that people of color are underrepresented in the medical community, which affects patient care, Shepard said. Many times we have seen that communication can differ, and placing people in the community who look like them can have a great impact on outcomes. One study, and I heard them say, is they used to say that, well, black women can stand more pain than white women, so you didn't have to prescribe them as much pain medication, things like that. So we need to be aware that racism and not just systematic racism, cultural racism, a lot of the things that people almost just take for granted now, don't even think that it's racist, as to say that, well, maybe this race has a problem. As he says, that it's not a difference between the races, it's racism that causes the problem in the health disparities and inequities. Not that black people are more likely just by being black. No, it's by the system of racism that caused them to have to live in substandard housing, to take jobs that are more dangerous than other people's jobs, and that's for people of brown, Hispanic, or Latino extract, as well as African descendants. So that's something that we have to look at. Our healthcare system needs to be overhauled. We need to look at it. Hopefully, as we get a new administration in, that'll be a thing that will be looked at, that we have to look at this. And I'm glad that the American Medical Association is looking at that. So take care of your health. Also, definitely go to the doctor. Men, you have to go in. We need to get the prostate exams. You need to just get physicals once a year. You need to be going to the doctor. Yeah, you've been good, you've been healthy, and all of that, but everybody needs to go to the doctor, especially as you start getting up there. But even before then, in your 20s and 30s, you should be going to the doctor. That's it. Yeah, Forrest, like you say, yeah, they're finally catching up to what we've already known. Just like police brutality. Yeah, we know that we didn't get treated the same way, and that we have health inequities. But now it's starting to show. That's one thing about the whole George Floyd thing, as terrible as it was, and the Black Lives Matter movement, is making people really look at racism, not just look at what the police are doing, because it's easy to say, well, it's the police and we've got to reform the police and do that. But no, we got to look at this whole system that we're working around. There's a lot more effects that go on in our lives that aren't just tied to the police. It's tied to the insurance industry. It's tied to banking. It's tied to the healthcare. We have to look at racism in all forms and in all industries, all structures that we have. And that's how the only way we're going to be able to make change. That, we can't make change if we don't look at the problem, if we don't face the problem, if we don't admit there's a problem. It's a hard truth, but let's go ahead and face the hard truths. Yeah, there are some things that as black people, as all human beings, we should be doing to better take care of ourselves. But there are some things that the society as a whole has to change, has to start looking at different, and that will help make a difference. So yeah, let's work on it. Let's continue to work on racism. Let's continue to make this country the shining example of what people can do if they work together. All right, we have another thing that's coming up. I didn't get the photo in here, but there's a Buy Black initiative that always happened, the Buy Black Empowerment Initiative, which is started with the National Black United Front. But they always have a, a expo, a vendors expo. It was over there behind Bishop Tolbert's church over on Paseo for the last 2 or 3 years, where small businesses and vendors come in, and it's a marketplace, like the African marketplace that you can go and you can buy from black vendors selling all kind of stuff, jewelry, clothes, food products, art, a lot of different things that are a good gift buys. Well, with COVID, they're not able to do that this year, and they've actually moved it to an online event. The Buy Black Empowerment Initiative is going to be having 2 days of sales, but it's going to be an online program. They've got a flyer out, and I'll have it up on the KUAW page and on the all the pages that we have, the Black Family Technology Awareness and all of them, to tell you about this Buy Black initiative, Buy Black Empowerment Initiative. And they have things that they're working on. It's not just that they want you to buy black just on this Black Friday or Thursday and Friday and Saturday or all of that. No, it's on. Some of their goals they have is they have education goals to inform and educate members of our community of the benefits of patronizing, supporting, and growing Black-owned businesses. They have development goals, which is to research data on Black-owned businesses and their impact on job creation, wealth development, community stabilization, and safe neighborhoods. Develop strategies to increase the rate of turnover of dollars that benefit the African American community. That's the thing that they're doing. Another is the documentation goals. They want to document the participation in the Buy Black Empowerment Initiative and its impact on Black-owned businesses. So these are some of the things they want to mobilize people to recruit participation in the Buy Black initiative. The Buy Black Empowerment Initiative from individual organizations and institutions of our community. And then evaluation. Provide an ongoing analysis of data collected and report the benefits of supporting Black-owned businesses. So that's the people of the Buy Black Empowerment Initiative that's going on, and they're going to be having a sale that starts, it usually coincides with the Black Friday, and as we all know, nobody's expecting big crowds to go shopping in a marketplace this year where we were close together. It was fun. I enjoyed it. You could eat a lot of different foods. You could test out a lot of different things and a lot of products. And you also support entrepreneurs that are starting out wanting to get their business started, making those vendors at different places. And sometimes you say, well, it's just a little vendor. But that's how you start. You start with a stand, with a table someplace. You keep going to where you get a storefront. Then you keep going where you're hiring people and things like that. So buying from somebody that just has a table, like at First Fridays, if you're down on the 18th Street or anything like that, that is still community empowerment, because you don't know how those businesses will grow. Me and my wife took a trip to Seattle, Washington, just a couple of months ago, and we went to the first Starbucks. Okay, you look at Starbucks now, and they're all over the world, and you see all these places, but the first Starbucks was down by the Pike Place Market, a small little storefront, and it was just a little coffee shop there. So, nobody, if didn't people support that Starbucks, it wouldn't be able to grow to be what it is. It didn't start off as this great big Starbucks and they had stores everywhere. So, no, it's a little storefront brick building. Now it's historical, and people are lined up to get inside of it to get some coffee from the original Starbucks. But it didn't start off as a great big thing. And there's some people here that have small tables set up, selling the books that they made, selling some clothing that they've made, being an entrepreneur that you don't know in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, they may have a multi-million-dollar business. They may be employing people in the community. So we have to support the people in our community, as much as possible. And that's one of the goals of the Buy Black Empowerment Initiative. So if you can, support them. You can find out more about it by going to https://buyblackKC.org. And it'll probably show up if you just put in Buy Black KC as one word, BUYBLACK buyblackKC.org, and find out a little bit more about the Buy Black Empowerment Initiative that is going on in Kansas City. All right, and that's was started with the National Black United Front of Kansas City, which is a fine organization. We really like the work that they do here in the city. And wife and I received an award from them at the Kwanzaa last year, and it was really, really heartfelt. We really felt very good to be honored by such a fine organization in the city. So probably, I don't know what their plans are, but it'll probably be hard to have the Kwanzaa event in Kansas City like we used to have. And Kwanzaa in Kansas City is one of the biggest Kwanzaa events in the world. So people have seen what we do at Kwanzaa time in Kansas City. Our Kwanzaa celebration was the biggest. And not that they have to make them big. You can do them at home, and we'll probably be doing a lot more of them at home now this year. But, it was really big, and it'll be again, after we get through what we're going through right now. So, yeah, support the Buy Black Empowerment Initiative. Spend your dollars in the community as much as possible. You need to do that. Now, before we close out today, got a little historical fact I found from the people at Face to Face Africa. If you haven't been to that site online, very good news site, Face to Face Africa. It says how the last and only black queen of Hawaii was overthrown by the U.S. in the 1800s. Now, did you know they had a black queen in Hawaii? That the people of African descent had been in Hawaii were royalty, not in Africa, not in the United States, not ex-slaves or anything like that, but just in Hawaii. And that's her name, boy, and I can't pronounce that. She was Queen. Let me pull that up because it gives that name, and boy, it's one of them Hawaiian type names. Let's see, Kamahima. Yeah, okay. We're not going to go through that. But you can go to Face to Face Africa, and it says in here the question of whether or not original natives of Hawaii are truly of African descent has remained one of the biggest puzzles ever. Although their skin, hair, and way of life prove that they were of African descent, scholars have one way or the other refused to dig into their history to provide clear evidence of the story, while also sidelining little findings by several historians and anthropology scholars. So this African, and I won't say African American because it basically was African, was queen after her brother died in Hawaii, and as a female head of state. And the United States was there. Missionaries had been there since in the 1850s, and they basically had a coup to get her out. The businessmen and some of the missionary people got together to get her out and to bring in a government of their own. They made promises. She thought the president was going to help her out, and they turned around and sold them out. So basically, she lived under arrest until she died in 1917, but that the United States government basically had overthrew the government that was in place in Hawaii to put in their own, to get rid of the monarchy, to make it have a president, and then join, as a republic and become part of the United States a few years later. But all of that was orchestrated as they had a monarchy, they had a king, a queen, they had a royal family in Hawaii, and that they had a black descendants. So that's one thing that I didn't know. You can check up on it, read on it yourself, but that there was the last queen of Hawaii was a African, or was of African descent. If you look at a picture of her, they've got statues over in Hawaii, her features and all that, you can tell that, yeah, she's one of us, But that is a little known history fact. And that we do know that Africans had traveled the seas long before slavery times, that we had visited not just the Americas, but a lot of other places around the globe, that there were Africans that were seafaring people, and they visited a lot of places, and we weren't just sitting there waiting to be discovered, as was it, Livingston and them says, weren't sitting there waiting to be found, but we were communities, we were kingdoms, we were empires that, just like anything on the European side, had expansionist ideas, went out, traded with people in a lot of different places. So you got to know your history to know where you came from and who you are, so you don't just believe what somebody tells you that you didn't have anything and you ought to be glad of what you got now. So that's a little bit of history. But yeah, Africans were in Hawaii not as ex-slaves, former slaves, or any of that, but that there were Africans over in the Hawaiian Islands, and that they were part of the royal family in Hawaii. So that's a little known Black history fact, and I wanted to just bring that to you today. We've been having a great time. Thanksgiving is coming up. I hope that you have your a turkey, a ham, whatever it is that you want to eat. And the eating isn't as important as that we think about family. We may not all be able to get together. I know a lot of us are doing Zoom things. I'm trying to set up a Zoom with my family, with my grandkids, and all of that. Yeah, it's not the same as everybody coming over to the house and talking about it and knocking over stuff and all of that, and the kids playing and running through. Those memories we'll have to make again on another time. But at least we can talk. We can let people know that we're thinking of them. We can fellowship together if it's by phone. You don't have to do a Zoom call. Call some of your family up. If you have some older members of the family that won't be able to get out, and don't make them feel bad or that they ought to try and get out, just give them a call. Let them know you're thinking of them. Let them know that, you know, you're glad to be part of the family, you know, and that we will get together again. This won't last, you know, as they say in the old spiritual songs, trouble don't last always. And we got a little bit of a rough time now, but one of the things that if you're a person of faith, you know that it will all work out for good. You know, we go through this test now. God has given us a chance to think, to reevaluate, and look at how we've been doing things. And as we get through this, see how we can make things better. So I want to thank you for joining me this day on at the BFTAA and More show. This is the Thanksgiving week. I'll be seeing you next Monday after Thanksgiving. Don't get too full. And remember, Giving Tuesday's coming up. We'll have a donation block and page up for you to see. We'd like for you to donate to KUAW Radio and to the Black Family Technology Awareness Association during this Giving Tuesday time. Remember, we live off of your donations. This is a non-profit radio station. We survive by donations from people like you that are listening out there today. So we're trying to make it better, and we're trying to get better, but we can't do that without your support. So support the Black Family Technology Awareness Association, support KUAW Radio, support the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center. Yes, all of these are volunteer organizations, and they need your support. So we need to support our own. Also, if you're buying stuff on Amazon and stuff, go to Amazon Smile and pick a nonprofit that you know right in the community. If you're going to spend money on Amazon anyway, if you'll sign on to Amazon Smile, same pages, same everything, but you can say where you want, they'll give a donation for everything you buy. You still pay the same price, but Amazon will donate to the charity that you name. So go to Smile Amazon. We'll have that up on our page too. When you make your purchases, say you want this to go to the Black Family Technology Awareness Association. Say you want it to go to the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center. They only give you a few pennies for every, dollar that is spent. But if you spend $1,000, then, you may be giving the Du Bois Center $10, $15, $20. If it was money you're going to spend anyway, it doesn't cost you anything to support a charity through Amazon Smile. So think about that as you're spending money. That's right. All right, that's my time for today. It is getting late. Sorry that I started off with the silent treatment on you, but we'll be back next. Oh, I see Forrest, you looked up. Lily Okalani. All right, that was the African queen of Hawaii. Yes, that was her. She was African and was the last queen of Hawaii before the United States orchestrated the takeover of the islands. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. My man's digging things out for you. We want to give you a little history. There's a lot of history to learn. There's a lot of science and knowledge to learn. That's what we're about, knowledge, understanding, and wisdom right here, KUAW Radio. We'll see you next Monday. Thank you for joining. Bye-bye. All right, you're listening to KUAW Radio, Kansas City's global community radio station. We don't only bring you videos on Facebook and YouTube, but listen to our audio only, where you'll get shows like